know the song Me and Mrs. Jones? I said, Uncle Vic, of course, of course. He goes, no, no, no. But do you know the dramatics version of Me and Mrs. Jones? I said,
Whoa! Welcome to another episode of Backstage with Jeff Bradshaw, brought to you by the Arizona Jazz Festival, where we take you a little bit backstage. Man, we got another great show for you today. And it seems like everybody that I interview are one of my brothers. And this guy is. Let me tell you a little bit about this amazing artist we have today. He's a New York-based contemporary jazz guitarist known for his smooth blend of jazz, funk, and R&B. He's released several albums, including Waiting for You, Sunshine After Midnight, and International Groove. He has performed in over 35 countries and opened for or played with notable artists such as Maxi Priest and Shaggy. His guitar style is energetic, melodic, and deeply rooted in groove-oriented jazz. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my dear friend, the amazing JJ Sansaverino.
Jeff
New York in the
Bradshaw.
house.
What's up, family? Good to
New
see
York
you.
is in
Good
the
to-
house.
Good to be here, man. It's good to be here. I'm so happy to be chopping it up with you today, bro.
Oh man, when I saw you on the schedule, I was like, oh, I get to interview my boy, and I'm going to learn some things today.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to learn some things today, and it's always awesome when you get a chance to interview one of your contemporaries, but also someone I consider a friend and a brother. So this is an honor to have you backstage with your boy.
I feel like we in the green room right now. I can feel
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. Listen, let's get right to it. Tell me how a kid from New York City found his voice through guitar. Like, how did that all happen? How did that start?
You know what? New York and Philly are so similar, and we know that. And, I'm sure that's got a lot of similar background to you because we grew up with hearing it around us. And there was nobody in my family played any instruments. There were no instruments. Nobody had instruments. They were all singers or wannabe singers.
Right.
Because if you loved music, you sang along with music. There was no guitars or pianos. Nobody had that stuff. So I came from a family of doo-wop singers that, had groups and sang, and street corner singers, from the Bronx and under the street, like the real, that was it. It was real. And, like I said, probably similar to you, after Sunday dinner, you've been with the whole family, everybody's in a small apartment and starts singing and this. And I was hearing this, and it just intrigued me how everybody could just come in and sing their note and all these songs. And those are songs that bring back great memories to me,
Absolutely.
And make me feel so good. So that was really how I got into music. My grandmother, my mother's mother, was an opera singer. My father's father was a well-known singer around the Lower East Side of Manhattan, sang in a lot of clubs and stuff like that. But nobody earned a living at it. He didn't. It was very difficult to play singing, especially if you were good. I mean, back then you had to have like a real wow thing to take you up, or some kind of serious money or guns behind you to put you up in the spotlight. That's how it happened. So, it was always ended up with a family of bus drivers and pool players. So I just loved it so much. And I just wasn't the level of singer of anybody. So I found this, I don't know if somebody brought it or left it, an acoustic guitar. It didn't even have all the strings on it. And I just started messing around with it and strumming it, and, got somebody to put the strings on it, and then I had all the strings and messing around and got a few lessons here and there. And
yes, sir.
I was so blessed that I got an opportunity to go to the Berklee School of Music in Boston. And that's where I really got to hone in on the theory part and learning about trombone and its range, because I was writing. And then beyond that, the most important thing was being around cats. And all that time when I was playing and sitting in and this and that is where you really get that next level of education.
What pulled you towards jazz though? Maybe because guitar. I mean, you could have been an alternative guitarist.
Mm-hmm.
You could have played blues. You could have really stayed and played in the R&B clubs, which I'm sure you probably did at some point.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
it's
uh,
funny. I never played in any rock clubs. I
what
mean,
pulled you towards jazz? What pulled you towards jazz, and how did that like really shape your sound? Once you knew what you were going to do, then what pulled you towards the sound that you have?
I think it had to do with, we had listened to so much different music in the household. Of course, like Motown was like religion, and Sinatra was on the
Mm.
wall. You know what I mean? And he had Jesus and Sinatra. I was like, so, and but then we're listening to like the Beatles and stuff like that too. But my uncle Victor, my father's brother, who was one of the leaders of one of the groups, he was like a side B guy. Like he knew songs, but he liked music. I'll never forget one time he says to me, he says, "Hey Joe, why don't you come over here hear the song?" So he goes through his tapes and he puts his tape on. He goes, "You know the song Me and Mrs. Jones?" I said, "Uncle Vic, of course, of course." He goes, "No, no, no. But do you know the dramatics version of Me and Mrs. Jones?"
Whoa!
I was like, "I don't think I do." So those were the kind of records that they were playing,
Wow!
like cool stuff, the impressions and all that doo-wop catalog, but all that soul music from the 60s
Yes!
and
Yes!
70s. But
Yes!
then, when you put the radio on, you're hearing everything. You're hearing rock and roll, and then as a guitar player, I mean, shoot, I love to hear these Eddie Van Halen virtuosos. It was amazing how these guys can play that kind of stuff. But then
Absolutely!
we're listening also to George Benson and hearing him, what a stud he was. And
Right!
my father used to love to go watch Ahmad Jamal in the Village all the time. So there was just
Oh,
a lot of music, and and it just kind of gets into your spirit, and then
yes!
it becomes part of you.
Absolutely! Absolutely, man. I mean, you've traveled like, and I know this for myself. Traveling and going overseas, and I mean, you've played in over 35 countries, man.
And then that's
How
old. It's
like
got to be about over 50 by now.
yeah,
I got to
it's like
count them.
how did like what does that do for your outlook? Not just in your life, and not just in music, but in your life with music, your life in music. What does that do for your outlook when you've played in that many countries?
It's just first of all, it's a blessing
Right, absolutely.
because
First and foremost.
such a blessing, and I'm just so grateful for God that He helped me find my purpose, and part of my purpose, part of your purpose is not only are we playing music out there and giving the best that we can give, but our purpose is to travel this beautiful world with so many diverse cultures and people and bring that love to them. So when traveling to Africa and Sri Lanka and these places where people are just so happy to see you and you bring in that love and how happy they are when you play music for them, it's so rewarding and you just feel like you're doing the right thing.
It
And
is.
it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. I'm in my bedroom as a kid, you know, there was nothing in your bedroom. There was no TVs, no phone. I had a clock radio, and I had this globe, a small globe. So at night when you got nothing to do except look at a magazine or listen to the radio, I would look at this globe and I would see all. I was just really always interested in geography, and I was looking
Yes.
at countries. I would wonder, what is this place like?
Right, right,
This is a
right,
teenager. Little
right.
did I know that I would travel to so many of those places. So that makes it even more special because traveling was always an ambition of mine that I wanted to do, and I probably wouldn't have really traveled much if it wasn't for music. We never really left, the New York area at all.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Man, if there was one, and I'm sure there's a few, because when you've traveled, when you've toured and traveled like we have, It's so many. Um, is there one place that is especially memorable for you?
There's, of course, you know, the answer is there are so many,
Right.
but I think that there's right away two jump out at me immediately that just were, I'll never forget. I traveled to the country of Gibraltar one time for a concert with Maxi Priest, and we ended up being the first band ever in the history to do a concert inside the Rock of Gibraltar.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm talking with it's that cave was liquids dripping in those spikes. I mean, it was like real cave business, you know.
right.
That was that was the sound wasn't great, but it was epic to be part of history. And then something on a completely different level that stands out was we traveled to Qatar one time and we did two concerts in Qatar. One in the capital Doha, where it was like
Hmm.
a beach concert where we were playing for the locals and people just were having a ball, you know. But then the next day they said, well, we're going to go travel way out into the desert. We drove for 2 or 3 hours into the desert, didn't see nothing at all to go to a military base to play for the military.
Oh,
And we got out there, they were practically in tears because they first thing they said was, thank you for not forgetting us out here.
right.
Because they're in a place where it's not seeing action and on the news every day.
Absolutely.
And they're in the
Absolutely.
middle of nowhere. So it's just nice that they weren't forgotten. So those are very rewarding experiences.
Yeah, man. I played Bahrain, so I played out there once in the Middle East on the island of Bahrain, and it was that for the military, and I'm former military as well. And a lot of
Wow.
people don't even know that
I
that I
didn't know
served
that.
that I
No, that's
served in the army.
thank
Yeah,
you, brother.
yeah. A lot of people don't know that, but yeah, it is when you see the troops over there, man. It's just like when they see somebody from America and you bring music to them, they're just like, oh man, thank you for coming. It feels like home.
I
It feels
know,
like
man.
home.
You bring them something, especially when they're not like in a hot zone where they're on the news and people are thinking and praying for them directly every day. They feel like they're just kind of lost in the middle of nowhere. And it's like they're still serving because, you know, service comes in so many different layers.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to get into a little bit of how you record. Your tone and groove is unmistakable. It's really unmistakable. When I listen to your music, it's funny how like every artist, on piano, guitar, and sax, and trumpet, and trombone, and it's like every artist has a signature. They have a thing. Like when you hear them play, you know it's them. And I didn't realize that even in guitar playing the tone of guitar is it's really in the fingers. And
Mhm.
I learned that first from certain bass players. That you hear so many different tones when different guys play. Some guys have softer hands, some guys have heavy hands, but there is a tone
Mhm.
to guitars. And so when you're writing and you're writing these number one hit records, uh, uh, what do you want people to really feel when you play for them live? And
So,
those are two different things.
studio and live. Let me touch on studio and sound versus live. You know, one of the things I'm very proud of is I've every any song that I've ever put on recorded. I've got 5 CDs out now. The sixth one's coming out soon. I've written every single song. I've produced every single song. I've always
Wow.
wanted to write and produce. A lot of times after 6 albums, when you know you're not catching bad hits in the beginning, everybody wants you to use this producer that's hot or this producer.
Right, 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 right,
And
right.
I said, you know what? Yes, I want success. Yes, and I would like some sort of additional cash flow from success that only makes things a little easier. But I said, I'm doing this as an artist from my heart, and I love doing it, and I want to continue to do it. And it paid off to do it that way. And while writing these songs, a lot of times when I would listen to songs, and a lot of times I've noticed this, especially in the quote unquote smooth jazz genre, sometimes I feel like the verses that a lot of artists write, they don't sound memorable to me. They just sound like they're kind of glossing through the 8 bar of the verse just to get to that pre-chorus to set up the hook. It's about a big hook. I always like to write if it's a note that's written in the melody of the song, it has to have meaning every step of the way. The
Absolutely.
verses I want to be memorable and melodic, and the pre-chorus, and I want it all to be exciting. So I spend a lot of time when I'm writing to make sure that it has the quality and that it has the integrity of good writing.
Yes.
And I got hip to a great friend of mine, Zeloise Oliveira, who I've worked with for many years and co-wrote and co-produced a lot with me in the beginning. Was an older cat that went back to school to Juilliard when he was in his 40s. So when he was going there, I was living vicariously through him. And we're
Right.
thinking about writing and retrograde and inversion, different writing techniques so we can take a melody and a theme and create from it and turn it around. And there's so many interesting writing techniques. So I try to make the writing interesting. Now, when it comes to playing live, we try to make it exciting
Yeah.
because, as you know, the power of breaking it down to nothing.
Yeah. The
One little note,
dynamics.
one
The
little note
dynamics.
goes a long way.
Yeah, it does.
Then you got to hit them over the head real hard too. You know what I mean? So, like,
Absolutely.
because I see you do that the way you work on your live performances,
Oh,
that
thank you,
spectrum
man.
of dynamics, and also a lot of us have a lot of vocabulary and a lot of things that we want to say. But I always admire cats that come out and they're just speaking simple and melodic, because then as they get through more and more into their solo, they can expand the vocabulary and then play outside a little bit more. And then it
Yeah.
has some cats just come out blowing outside the key intentionally from the get-go. And it's like, you're going to lose a lot of our listeners that way.
Yes.
The way you play trombone is like so expressionistic. It's like that tone that, like, I try to put that on the guitar too, so that it's exciting and emotional.
Yes.
And I think that's very important to touch at people's hearts.
Absolutely. You explained it perfectly. I mean, you got to sing to the people, and every note matters.
Yeah.
Every single note. You're rushing to get to the chorus. Every note matters because it matters to them.
And it's funny, Jeff, because Benson's one of my favorite guitar players, and he could be a speed demon at times.
Oh, yeah.
Everything he plays seems to work. So there's times where I like him. I want to be a speed demon sometimes too. And I got to say, I got a long way to go tonight. I got a lot more to say. I don't got to say the first 8 bars,
Got to tell that story.
The older we get, we try to slow it down a little more. At least try to.
A show is just a story. We're telling a story with a climactic ending.
Yeah.
We're just that's all the show is. We're just and that's how I approach recording albums as well. It's an amazing movie with a climactic ending. And we try to bring that to the people live as well. Yeah.
That's one of the things that disappoints me so much about the streaming format, because our generation, we grew up where when we would finally buy a piece of vinyl or borrow a piece of vinyl, whatever we did, we would get to the crib and we'd be excited because we're about to check this out. Maybe it had some crazy cover, or maybe it had some naked girls on the cover, whatever. It was just like really exciting.
Right.
And then we'd sit down and we'd listen and we'd read the liner notes. We'd look to see the cats that were playing it, who arranged it. And it would be, like you said, it was a story. It would start. Those songs weren't just thrown on there like dice, any order. They were put in an order to take you through a journey. And we can still do that with CDs. That's why I really hope people continue to buy CDs, because so they can understand our music as the body of work that it's intended to progress from beginning to end.
Absolutely.
Well, you lose that with streaming. These kids don't have that anymore. It's a shame.
They don't. You don't see that when they're streaming music. It's like, where are the liner notes? How are they going to know who played on this? And we got to get back to that. We have to continue. And thank God we have an audience. Thank God we have an audience. Thank God we have an audience that really, really buys CDs and understands that dynamic that
supports us.
And a lot of it, like, I don't think that guy. I heard guys say in a CD line, like, man, I don't care if you make it a coaster, just buy it. If we gonna see that, we see that money directly. We see that directly. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. Before I get towards the wrapping this up, I have to know this, because I want people to understand where your sound comes from and where you are spiritually when you strap up your axe. Favorite rock guitars, favorite jazz guitars, favorite R&B guitars. Go.
Whoa. Favorite jazz guitarist is simple. It's George Benson all the way. All right. Favorite R&B guitarist. This is going to be controversial, but
It's a big one.
because he kind of plays everything, and R&B kind of has a lot in it. I
Right.
really dig Prince because I like the way Prince plays rhythmically and fills, and but Ernie Isley's dope too.
Woo!
Now rock guitars, it's a tough one because there's so many. There's guys like, Robin Ford. Is he really a rock guitarist? I don't know. Jimi
Right.
Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix had rhythm and lead. I guess Prince is a modern version of Hendrix.
Right.
Eddie Van Halen was such a shredder and unique and creative. But Santana is probably at the top because he plays with so much soul and feeling that those notes all mean something.
Man, I just wanted to hear when people hear you, because I've heard all of those people during your show. Like, you're not like some smooth jazz guitarist who plays octaves, melodies, and octaves all day, and and dance around. Like, you dig into the music. There's R&B in your R&B, a feel of R&B in your music. There's a feel of blues in your music. There's a feel of rock in your music, and I love it. I love when you go to all of those worlds. It shows that you have a broad palette of understanding where music is on that instrument and what it has meant to you. So that's really big for me. And I'm going to segue into that, into how about it's awesome that we're going to have you again on the Arizona Jazz Festival this year.
Yeah,
what
bro.
a great festival. How does it feel to be back?
I'm so excited. I'm glad to be included. It's like when it's funny because I'm sure a lot of us feel this way. When you see these great festivals and you see so many amazing artists on the bill, and let's say that maybe for that festival, you might not be on that festival. You get festival envy a little bit, like, man, I wish I was there to contribute and be part of this amazing memory that this weekend is going to be.
Right.
But then on the other side, when you are part of it, it's a great honor, and it just makes you think, wow, I got to make this over the top. I got to bring everything. I got to bring the band, some new arrangements, the entertainment. We got to bring it all. And I'm excited because it's such an awesome festival. I can't wait.
It really is. It really is, man. I can't wait. I can't wait to see your performance again this year. I got an opportunity to watch you perform before I went on stage the last time I played there, and I really had such a great time. And I love when we get to play on the same day, because I get to see, we get the fellowship, which is so big for us,
Yes,
and so big for me. But I also get to see my brother work, and I get to see God work through you, man. So it's an honor, man, to have you on here. And what's next? What's next for JJ?
Well, I got this brand new radio single, which is crushing. It's called "Keep Your Head Up." I got Lynn Roundtree as a feature on it.
Woo!
And I'll tell you, it's my 18th radio single, and I've never had a single move as quickly as this one.
Awesome.
And everything right out first week. Every week it's like huge. I'm like, wow, it's like 3 weeks we're almost into the top part of the charts. Like,
right.
Awesome. So we're promoting that, but a lot of gigs. What we got coming up: Thornton Winery next week with me and Nathan Mitchell with Vinny.
Nice.
San Diego with Humphreys. We got 4 shows coming up at Blues Alley with my girl Vivian Sessoms and special guest Marquel Jordan. And
nice.
Smooth Jazz Fest with our guy Phil Denny in Lansing. I got the Pensacola Jazz Festival with Antoine Knight. Just a lot of stuff moving on.
How can people find this? How can people catch up? How can people, first of all, let people know what your social media is and what your website is, so people can go and see you, so people can find these body tickets and come out and see you and pack the house?
That's what's up. I ain't no slick names for me. JJ Sansaverino across the board on IG, Facebook, YouTube.
Me too.
JJ Sansaverino is my website. My calendar's there. I'm always posting. So you can always send me your email. I'll get you on there. Most importantly, post and reach out. I'll always reach back.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. It has indeed been a pleasure to
Brother,
have my boy on, have my boy backstage with Jeff
I enjoyed
Bradshaw.
myself. Jeff,
Oh
thank
man,
you.
it's gonna be such a joy having you this year at this year's Arizona Jazz Festival from November 7th through the 9th. Listen, don't forget we got payment plans for those of you who don't have tickets. We have payment plans that start just at $100. Call or text Coco at 602-244-8444 and secure your spot. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page, the Arizona Jazz Festival, and come see Backstage. Come on Backstage and see what other great artists we're going to have. Brother, I love you. It's always a pleasure, and I cannot wait to see you on the road.
God bless you. And Jeff, huge congratulations to you. Your testimony to hard work, determination that recognizes God's blessing, that nothing can stand in the way of you moving forward and reaching and bringing that love to everybody. I feel like we're so aligned, and I consider you a friend, and I'm a huge fan of yours. Thanks for having me, and I can't wait to give you a hug in
Absolutely.
person, fam.
Absolutely. My guy, JJ Sansaverino. We'll see you at the Arizona Jazz Festival November 7th through the 9th. We out. Mm.